Hi everyone. I'm 30F, and if you'd asked me a year ago, I would have said my life was pretty close to perfect. I had a stable job, a cozy apartment, and I was engaged to my college sweetheart, Erin. We'd been together for almost 7 years. I really thought we were solid. We had our share of arguments, sure, what couple doesn't? But nothing that ever made me question our future. We were planning our wedding for last fall, and my little sister, Rachel, 28F, was going to be my maid of honor. She was thrilled. Or at least, I thought she was. Rachel and I were close. Not the kind of sisters who fought growing up. She was always bubbly, always the center of attention, and I was totally okay with that. I liked being the quiet one. She was my best friend. We told each other everything. So when I started noticing tension between her and Erin during wedding planning, I chalked it up to stress. Nothing more. But looking back, there were signs. Little things. Like how Rachel always offered to help Erin when I wasn't around. How he started calling her more than me whenever there was a wedding emergency. At one point, I even joked about how she was acting like his assistant, not mine. She laughed it off. And I believed her. Until 4 months before our wedding, when Erin told me he wasn't sure anymore. Said he felt trapped, that something was missing. He cried, told me it wasn't about anyone else, he just needed time to figure things out. So he walked. No cheating, no scandal, just cold feet, apparently. I was gutted. I cancelled everything. The venue, the vendors, the honeymoon. I took time off work and stayed with my parents for a few weeks just to feel like I had solid ground again. Rachel showed up with wine, junk food, and shoulder squeezes. She told me I was better off. She told me I deserved someone who was sure about me. I believed her. I needed to believe her. And then, 3 days ago, I got an invitation in the mail. A wedding invite. From Rachel. She's marrying Erin. And she wants me to be there. I stared at that envelope for 10 full minutes before I opened it. I wish I could say I felt nothing. I wish I could say I laughed and tossed it in the trash. But the truth? My hands were shaking. The card inside was fancy, way fancier than the one I'd picked out for my own wedding. Thick, creamy paper with gold foil embossed lettering. Their names, Rachel and Erin, were written in this dramatic cursive like they were royalty or something. I read the whole thing twice before it sank in. The date was set for exactly 1 year after Erin and I were supposed to get married. Same weekend. Different bride. At first, I thought it had to be a joke. Some twisted prank. But no, it was real. RSVP card and all. She had the audacity to write a personal note on the back. I hope you'll come. It would mean the world to me to have my big sister by my side. Please think about it. I love you. I felt like I'd been slapped. I tried to call her. No answer. I texted her. Nothing. That night, I finally broke down and told my mom. I hadn't wanted to drag her into it before because she always said, Rachel's still growing up. She doesn't always think things through. But when I showed her the invite, even she was speechless. The next day, Rachel finally called me. No warning. Just popped up on my phone like nothing had happened. I didn't even say hello. I just waited. She started talking like it was a totally normal conversation. Like she hadn't just blindsided me with the most gutless betrayal of my life. She told me that she and Erin grew close after the breakup. That it wasn't planned. That it just happened. That they didn't tell anyone because they weren't sure it would turn into anything. Right. They didn't want to hurt me. That's why they hid it. That's why they waited until they picked a venue and printed out invitations to let me know. She had the nerve to say it's not like he cheated on you. You guys were over. I hung up on her. The next morning, she emailed me, to say she hoped I'd still come to the wedding because, quote, we want to show people that love can come from hard places and still be beautiful. What does that even mean? I showed the email to my mom. Her face went pale. Then she told me something that made my stomach drop. Apparently, Rachel and Erin had gone to a family friend's cabin together a couple months after the breakup. Just as friends, they said at the time. My mom didn't think anything of it. Neither did I. But now? Now I knew the truth had been staring me in the face this whole time. I think what hurts the most isn't just that they're together. It's that they planned all of this behind my back. That Rachel came over with wine and hugs while secretly building a life with the man who tore mine apart. And now they want me to smile through it? Clap for them? Dress up in pastel and watch my sister walk down the aisle to marry the man who left me in pieces? I haven't RSVP'd yet. But I'm starting to think maybe I will. Not for closure. For something else. So, yeah. I decided I needed answers. Not the sugar-coated crap Rachel gave me, not the vague nonsense Erin hid behind when he left. I wanted the real story. And to get it, I had to start looking where people usually don't expect you to look, through the cracks. The thing about Rachel is, she's sloppy. She lives for attention, but she's never been good at hiding things that aren't about her. She leaves trails, texts, Venmo payments, posts she deletes but doesn't realize others have screenshotted. I started with Instagram. Not her public one. Her Finsta. The one she thought I didn't know about. The one she uses to complain about our family and post rants when she's drunk. I still had access. She forgot I followed her once from a second account years ago. She never removed me. And there it was. A photo. Blurry, low light. A fireplace. 2 glasses of wine. Erin's unmistakable watch resting on the table. The date? 1 week after our engagement ended. She captioned it, didn't expect this night to turn into what it did, but not mad about it. I felt sick. That wasn't growing close after months. That was immediate. That was planned. I checked more posts. One from 2 weeks later, clearly taken in a hotel room. Rachel had posted her legs under a blanket with the caption, "This is better than therapy." The timestamp lined up with the same weekend I'd called her crying because I couldn't stop thinking about Erin. And she was with him. Probably in his bed. I wanted to scream. But I wasn't done. Next stop? Venmo. You'd be surprised what people forget that others can see. They'd been splitting charges for takeout, drinks, ride shares for months. Little heart emojis in the captions. One even said, "For last night, winky face, from Rachel to Erin." I took screenshots. Dozens. Then I remembered something. An old iPad I'd loaned Erin when we were planning the wedding. He returned it when we broke up, but I never unlinked it from my iCloud. Out of curiosity, I turned it on. And what do you know, it still had his Apple ID set up in some places. Including his calendar. That's when I found it. He'd made a note 2 weeks before our breakup. Talk to Rachel, decide when to tell her. I froze. Tell me what? Was it about them? Was the breakup just a way to clear his conscience? I clicked into his old emails. The account had long since been wiped, but fragments remained, subject lines, cached previews. One caught my eye. From Rachel. Sent 3 days after the breakup. Subject, "So, does this mean we're really doing this?" That was all I needed to see. They didn't just accidentally fall in love. They orchestrated it. And now they want to wrap it in ribbons and white lace like it's some fairy tale romance? I felt like I was losing my mind. But then I had a moment of clarity. They wanted me at that wedding to make them feel better. They thought having me there would be some kind of redemption arc. A way to prove that it was all okay now. That they were still the heroes of their own story. But I wasn't going to give them that. No. I had a different plan in mind. After everything I found, the posts, the messages, the calendar note, I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm. Dangerously calm. They thought inviting me to the wedding was some kind of peace offering. A gesture to make things right. But it was really just an act of self-preservation. If I showed up, it made them look good. Mature. Forgiven. They needed me there for optics. So I RSVP'd yes. A few days later, Rachel texted me. Just one line. "I'm so happy you're coming. This means more than you know." I bet it did. Now, I wasn't planning on a dramatic takedown. I wasn't going to throw a drink or ruin the wedding dress. That's not me. I wanted something quieter. Smarter. So I reached out to Lauren, an old friend from college who works in event planning. She owed me a favor. And as luck would have it, her company was working with the same venue Rachel and Erin had booked. I told her I wanted to surprise them. No sabotage. Just an appearance. She was hesitant at first, but once I shared just a few of the things I'd uncovered, she got quiet and said, "Okay. I'm in." She helped me get on the guest list for the rehearsal dinner. You know, the part they hadn't invited me to. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I just showed up. Hair done. Black dress. Calm expression. I arrived 5 minutes before it started. Most people were already seated, including my parents. When I walked in, the whole room shifted. Rachel's face dropped. Erin looked like someone had dropped ice down his shirt. I smiled at both of them. Then I took the open seat next to my mom, who looked at me like I had just returned from war. She whispered, "Are you okay?" I nodded. Never better. The dinner started awkwardly. They had hired some friend to give a slideshow of their love story. Photos of Rachel and Erin hiking, cooking, laughing at stupid things. Their voices narrating how they found each other in a dark time and brought light back into their lives. It was disgusting. But I didn't flinch. I clapped with everyone else. I even toasted. Then came the open mic part. Guests were invited to say a few words. My hand went up. Rachel tried to stop me. I could see it in her eyes. But she had no choice. I stood up, cleared my throat, and said, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to come. But I realized something recently. I realized that sometimes, the people who hurt you the most, are the ones who look you in the eye and call you family. And when that happens, you have two choices, forgive and forget, or forgive and remember everything. I chose the second. Silence. People shifted in their seats. I smiled again and raised my glass. To Rachel and Aaron. May the lies you told to get here never become the truth you try to live with. I sat down. The room stayed silent for a moment longer before the host awkwardly clapped to break the tension. Others followed. It was the most forced applause I've ever heard. Rachel looked like she wanted to vanish into the floor. Aaron didn't even look at me. Not once. I didn't stay long after that. I made my exit quietly, hugged my mom, and left before dessert. No one stopped me. And that was the best part. Because I could tell from the look in Rachel's eyes, she thought I was going to explode. But I didn't. I let them sit with the discomfort. And this? This wasn't even the wedding yet. The day of the wedding arrived like a storm I'd been tracking for months. Except this time, I wasn't scared of it. I was ready. I didn't sleep much the night before. Not from nerves, but from clarity. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And it didn't involve screaming in the middle of a ceremony or sabotaging the cake. No. What I had in mind was quieter. And far more permanent. At 9 a.m., I got a text from Rachel. Just wanted to say thank you again for coming last night. It was unexpected. I know things are complicated, but I'm grateful. I didn't reply. An hour later, another text from Aaron. It really means a lot that you came. I hope today's not too hard for you. Still no reply. Then, just before noon, Rachel sent one more message. Your dress is hanging in the bridal suite. In case you still want to stand with me. That one broke something in me. She actually thought I'd stand beside her while she vowed herself to the man who left me for her behind my back. She still wanted the illusion. The storybook ending where I played the role of the forgiving sister. I didn't even open the message. I got dressed, but not in the pastel bridesmaid gown she'd picked out for me months ago. I wore a sleek navy dress with a high neckline and sharp edges. Nothing bridal. Nothing soft. I looked like a woman who had finally stopped pretending. I showed up to the venue 15 minutes before the ceremony. Alone. No +1, no fanfare. People stared. Some smiled awkwardly. A few looked like they were watching a car crash in slow motion. The coordinator led me to the seat Rachel had reserved for me. Front row. Right side. I sat down. She didn't see me when she walked in. She was too focused on the aisle, on Aaron's face. And for a split second, I saw it. The way he looked at her wasn't love. It wasn't awe. It was relief. Like he'd gotten away with it. The ceremony was quick. Vows were said. Rings were exchanged. They kissed. The crowd clapped. And I clapped too. But here's the twist. I didn't stay for the reception. I left before the dancing, before the dinner, before the toasts. I slipped out while everyone was lining up for photos. No scenes. No goodbyes. Because I knew something they didn't. Earlier that morning, I had dropped a manila envelope in the venue's outgoing mail bin. It was addressed to Aaron's new employer. Inside were copies of some very interesting documents, ones that showed Aaron had borrowed a large sum of money from my joint business account right before our breakup. The account I'd stupidly let him manage during wedding planning. He thought I never noticed. That I was too heartbroken to check the numbers. But I did. And I kept everything. He'd used that money to help finance a down payment on a condo. A condo that's now in both his and Rachel's names. Yeah. I found the deed. I gave the documents to my lawyer 2 weeks ago. And he said I have a solid case for financial fraud. So while they danced and cut cake and toasted to their new beginning, I was already setting fire to the foundation they built it on. Not out of revenge, but because I finally realized I wasn't the one who needed to be there for closure. They did. And now? Now I don't answer their messages. Now they're married. And the lawsuit is underway. I didn't hear anything for 2 weeks. Not a word. Not from Rachel. Not from Aaron. Not from anyone in that tangled mess of people who clapped and smiled and pretended that day like it wasn't built on betrayal. I figured the envelope had landed. My lawyer confirmed it. The firm had acknowledged receipt. They hadn't responded yet, but I knew that silence wasn't a good sign for Aaron. Then, one night around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. But curiosity got the better of me. I played it. It was Rachel. Her voice was different. Tired. Tight. She said she just found out about the lawsuit. Said Aaron had been acting cagey and she didn't understand what was happening until he finally confessed. She sounded like she was trying to sound calm, but the cracks were there. She asked me to call her. She said we needed to talk this through. I didn't respond. 2 days later, another message. This time, from a mutual friend. Apparently, Aaron lost his job. The company didn't fire him directly over the documents, but they did start an internal investigation. And from what I heard, things got very uncomfortable very fast. His boss asked some pointed questions. HR got involved. By the end of the week, he resigned voluntarily. I guess being exposed as a financial liability isn't the best way to start a new job. Rachel posted a photo that weekend, her, sitting alone at a coffee shop. Caption: sometimes silence says more than words ever could. People commented supportively. They had no idea. But what struck me wasn't the photo. It was what someone else told me later, that Aaron had been sleeping on the couch for a week. Apparently, they'd started fighting right after the honeymoon. He blamed her for bringing drama into his life. She blamed him for not telling her about the money. And neither of them trusted each other anymore. Imagine that. Then Rachel reached out again. This time, she emailed me. Long message. Pages worth of justification, guilt, and half-baked apologies. She said she didn't know Aaron had taken the money until after the wedding. That he promised he would fix it. That she felt stupid for believing him. She said she was sorry. But mostly, she said she felt betrayed. Not by him. By me. She wrote that she didn't understand why I couldn't just let it go. That I should have talked to her woman to woman instead of dragging lawyers into it. That we were family and this wasn't the way to handle it. I didn't reply. Because I realized something as I read her message. Rachel didn't want to fix things. She wanted me to pretend this wasn't happening. She wanted me to validate her version of events. The one where she was the victim of circumstance, not the architect of betrayal. But I was done playing supporting roles in other people's stories. Aaron stole from me. Rachel married him anyway. And now? They're stuck with each other. No trust, no job, no clean slate, just each other and the choices they made. As for me? I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. It came from his mother. Out of everyone, she was the last person I thought I'd hear from. We were never close. Not in a cold or rude way, just distant. Polite smiles, a few phone calls around holidays, the occasional awkward hug at family dinners. She was the kind of woman who always seemed like she was 2 steps behind emotionally, the kind who said the right things but rarely meant them. During my relationship with Aaron, she always struck me as reserved, almost robotic. She never really welcomed me into the family, but she never pushed me away either. Just indifferent. Until now. She emailed me. Not a call. Not a text. An email with the subject line, "I don't expect a response." And that immediately caught my attention. It was long. Thoughtful. Sincere, in a way that felt almost strange coming from her. She said she found out about the financial lawsuit a few days after Aaron quit his job. That she hadn't known about the missing money, hadn't known anything was wrong at all until Rachel called her crying in the middle of the night. According to her, Rachel told her that I was trying to ruin their marriage and still obsessed with Aaron, and that I had planted fake documents to destroy him. But his mom, she didn't believe it. She said that after all these years, she'd never heard me speak badly about anyone, not even Aaron, especially not when we were breaking up. And that made her start asking questions. What she found, she said, made her ashamed to share a last name with him. She asked Aaron directly about the money. And he admitted it. Not with regret. Not with guilt. He told her I would have wasted it on flowers and chair covers, that I wasn't smart enough to manage a budget that big, and that it made more sense for him to handle it. He said he was just reallocating. That I'd gotten emotional and turned it into something legal that didn't need to be. She said hearing that, the smugness in his voice, made something inside her break. She told me she had raised him better than this, that she felt like she failed not just as a mother, but as a woman who watched another woman be quietly gutted and didn't do a thing about it. She apologized. Not for him, for herself. She said she regretted every polite silence. Every time she didn't ask how I was doing. Every time she didn't wonder why a woman who had been so excited to marry her son suddenly vanished from the picture. She said she knew I wouldn't write back. That maybe I'd delete the message. But she wanted me to know one thing. You deserved better, from him, from Rachel, and from me. And I hope you find peace. Whatever that looks like for you, I hope it's big. I hope it's wild. I hope it's far away from all of this. I read that part over and over. And I cried. Because that was the first real acknowledgement from anyone connected to them that what happened to me mattered. That I wasn't just bitter. or vengeful, or dramatic, that I was betrayed. And for the first time since the wedding, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel hollow. I felt seen. She was right. I did deserve better. And I was finally on my way to finding it. A month passed after the wedding. The lawsuit was moving along slowly, as legal things do. I'd stopped checking Rachel's social media. I no longer watched to see if Aaron got another job, or if they were still pretending to be happy. The storm had quieted. But the weird thing about quiet is that it leaves space for things you didn't know you were still holding on to. And out of nowhere, someone I hadn't thought about in years reappeared. His name was Matt. Matt and I dated before Aaron. A lifetime ago, it feels like now. We were young, barely out of college, both trying to figure ourselves out. He was sweet but restless. He wanted to travel, to live out of a backpack and sleep on train floors. I wanted stability, a home, a plan. We ended things on good terms. No drama, just different pages in different chapters. We hadn't spoken since. Until one day, I got a message on LinkedIn of all places. Just a short note, "Hey, I saw your name and couldn't believe it. I hope you're doing well. Would love to catch up sometime if you're open to it." At first, I almost ignored it. Not because I was still hurt, but because I wasn't sure I had it in me to reopen any emotional doors. I was still rebuilding, still in the weird limbo between survival and healing. But something about the timing felt right. Like the universe wasn't done surprising me just yet. So I replied. We agreed to meet for coffee. Casual, no expectations. He showed up looking older, obviously, but in that calm, grounded way some people grow into. His hair was a little longer, his smile just as easy as I remembered. And the first thing he said was, "You look lighter." I wasn't sure what he meant at first, but then I realized he was right. For the first time in forever, I did feel lighter. We talked for hours. About the years in between. About his travels. About my job. We barely touched on relationships, except when he said, very simply, "I heard about what happened." "I'm sorry. That was ugly." I just nodded. Because it was. We didn't make any promises. We didn't talk about second chances or fate or any of that romantic nonsense people expect. It was just coffee. But it felt like something new was beginning. Not a rebound. Not a fairy tale. Just possibility. And after everything I'd been through, with Aaron, with Rachel, with losing what felt like my whole future, I was finally okay with not knowing where something might lead. I was okay standing on fresh ground, with nothing behind me I wanted to run back to. It happened on a Sunday. One of those quiet, gray afternoons where you've got no plans and nowhere to be. I was in sweats, doing laundry, sipping reheated coffee, and for once, not thinking about Aaron or Rachel or the lawsuit or anything that used to make my chest tighten. I was just living. And then the knock came. It wasn't loud. Just 3 soft taps, like whoever was on the other side wasn't sure they wanted to be there. I live in a building with a buzzer. People don't just show up unannounced unless they live here. I peeked through the peephole. It was Rachel, standing there in an oversized hoodie, no makeup, hair in a bun that looked slept in. She looked nothing like the glowing bride from a month ago. She looked wrecked. I didn't open the door right away. I stared at her through the peephole and wondered what she could possibly want from me now. But curiosity, or maybe just some leftover sense of unfinished business, made me twist the handle and pull the door open. She didn't say anything at first. Just stood there like a ghost. Then, finally, "Can I come in?" I should have said no. I wanted to say no. But some part of me, the part that still remembered who she was before all this, stepped aside. I let her in. She walked into my living room and sat on the edge of the couch like she didn't know if she was allowed to touch anything. Like she wasn't sure if she belonged in the same air as me. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She didn't try to justify what she did. She just said, "I made a mistake." I didn't respond. Not yet. I needed her to keep going. I needed to know why she was really here. She told me things had fallen apart with Aaron, faster than she thought possible. That the day after the wedding, he'd already started changing. Cold. Distant. She said he made jokes about the lawsuit at first, until it got serious. Then he started blaming her, saying he only took the money because of the pressure she put on him. That if she hadn't needed everything to be perfect, he wouldn't have done it. She said they hadn't spoken in days. That he was staying at a friend's place. That she didn't know if they were still together, or if he'd just ghosted her for good. And then she looked at me, eyes puffy, voice flat. "I don't have anyone else to talk to." And for one horrifying second, I almost felt bad for her. But then I remembered. I remembered the photos, the emails, the fake sympathy she gave me while sneaking around behind my back. I remembered the wedding invitation she mailed me like it was some kind of favor. I remembered the rehearsal dinner, where she smiled while I toasted to her lies. So I asked her, quietly, why are you really here, Rachel? Is it because you miss your sister, or because you lost your backup plan? She didn't answer right away. But then she said the quiet part out loud. I thought if we got married, he'd finally choose me. I thought I'd win. There it was. Not love. Not regret. Competition. I stood up and walked to the door. Held it open. And I told her, as evenly as I could, you already did win, Rachel. You got everything you reached for. And now you can keep it. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just walked out, back into the hallway, and didn't look back. I closed the door. Locked it. And this time, I didn't feel anything. No sadness. No satisfaction. Just finality. It was over. Not the lawsuit. Not the drama. Her. She was finally out of my story.